to Go Play Esports Podcast with Christopher Turner, Go Play founder and CEO, esports coach at the Southern University Lab, and gamer. Discussions on the emergence of esports at the K-12, collegiate, and professional level. Let's go! Let's go play.
I have a guest this week. This guy, man, is like a brother to me. Very knowledgeable in the space of esports, education, production. You know, the whole ecosystem. I tease him every time and tell him, he's created Walt Disney World for himself and others. And I'm just happy to have him on. We're going to kind of do the show a little different today. I normally would go on the spiel of my sponsors and all that. Today, I'm not doing that. I can call the shots. We'll do sponsors at the end of the show. And this particular person, if you saw me promote, you know who it is already. But we're going to bounce some stuff off of each other and just have candid conversation about the industry. But also, we're going to talk about some things that he has in the works as far as projects and what he's done moving forward within the last couple of months during COVID and such. And we'll go over why. And so let's go into this introductional video of his company and what they provide and what they're doing in his community.
We are Exposure, and this
is your pathway to pro.
So if you don't know by now, I guess today is Danny Martin of Exposure, man. What's going on?
Hello, sir. It's good to be here. Definitely good to be here.
Yeah, it is, man. So, kind of go into a brief spiel, man, about what Exposure is. I know that, your company went through a name change. And so I just want to address the elephant in the room and kind of get to, what is Exposure and what you're providing to the community.
Yeah, easily. When we first started, we were really focused on competitive esports, meaning from a professional gaming perspective. We quickly recognized that esports is way bigger. It takes a huge staff from my team to that of what we've experienced in COVID and, institutions, colleges, organizations are all looking right now to be able to, grow jobs and provide opportunities for individuals to be able to have success inside of this industry, even outside of the professional gaming realm. So we looked at, the word exposure being used a lot. So we really want to turn it esports, right? So when you think of exposure, think about providing exposure to everybody within this community. And being a 15,000 square foot esports arena, that's not necessarily your typical arena. It's more of an incubation hub for the southern sector of Dallas, which is, as you see in the video, individuals in our community, the African-American, Hispanic. So we really just utilizing this opportunity to expose individuals to that or expose the individuals to all the different career opportunities in this space. And, everyone has to learn about esports. They have to be educated about it. And then once they're educated, they're like, what do we do next? So ultimately, it's about giving them the platform to be able to test their skill sets. And as you test your skill sets, you get to be like, man, I did this event, right? And then you have a portfolio, you have a resume. And upwards of that, it's our job to make sure that we utilize our industry partners to help these individuals obtain jobs. So every day is a 360 cycle to create this ecosystem. So therefore, that same young male, young female that are looking to have a viable job in this industry to make some capital. We put that pressure on our backs to make sure that we can obtain that for them.
Being a business owner and building this ecosystem within like an African American Latino community, what challenges have you gone through? Because the landscape you're in is esports supportive, meaning fully throughout the industry. What are some hiccups or some bumps that you saw along the way?
Yeah, man, it's really the education on the parents and the instructors and the mayors and the leaders of the space. It's really being able to let them know all that's transpiring in this space. And it's not a hard thing. It's just being exposed to it, right? Once you expose an individual to the viability of this industry, then everybody's all on. So it was a first, letting individuals know in our community that this is something viable. And after that, it's just a fire lights up under everyone. And then they start helping, they start providing, they start, encouraging their students and their kids to participate in it because it's something that we've been able to explain about, the career opportunities, but, social, emotional support and camaraderie and leadership, all the things that you're experiencing inside of esports is just explaining that to the atmosphere. So that was really the biggest challenge is, you as a business owner, you coming into an environment that does not know. Typically, as a business owner, you want to come into an environment that they already know, and you give them the product, and they're good. Well, in this area, it's more geared towards teaching first, and that can naturally take some time, and then ultimately being able to say, once you've taught that, all right, you're ready to move, you're ready to move and shake. But really, it's when you're looking at this geographic location, you have to prove. You can't just come in there and just talk. You got to really showcase it. And one of the biggest, ways that we was able to showcase is one, having a facility that someone can come and touch and feel and engage. But most importantly, being able to showcase the track record, man. Like track records are really big. As programs are building, the number one track record that they're going to look for is how many jobs that they provide, right? And that's the showcase that your program is working. So when I talk to individuals like, a lot of people don't know, like we have 8 professional gamers right now. Most of them are being showcased in the NBA 2K League, making $60 plus $1,000 per 6 months. So this is a job for a student. And after just being able to say, look at the professional gamer and look at the capital, we were also able to say, look at this graphic designer who has his graphics inside of the Forbes article that mentioned about esports. Look at this videography, the videographer that just was showcased on the video that you just seen. So everybody that does work for us, they're typically students, whether they're in high school, college, or postgraduates. We're really focusing on doing every single thing that's focusing on individuals who are new to this industry and upwards of helping them get out. So it's the challenge becomes really on just giving insight and really just being able to prove the end-to-end model. You got to prove it.
And I'm glad that you made those points, proving being authentic. And, we talk about this all the time. We conversate all the time. How important is it to be authentic? Like you mentioned those things, like a lot of people don't know, like you grew up in that area, close to that area.
Yeah.
The area that I service, I'm born and raised where I'm from.
Yeah.
We both game. We both are not only consumers of the marketplace, but we're trying to make opportunities and making opportunities and creating at the same time. And dealing with our community, it's lawyer, doctor, lawyer, bus, or sports. You know what I'm saying? So how have you saw that the culture change within the community while you've been there?
I think, just by being in this space and, when I sit back and I look at it, it's like, for about, so let's say 10 years now, the normal, everybody 10 years. And I feel that same way. But let's say, to be completely transparent, about 7 of those years, it was about investing, right? For me, like every single day investing, finding ways to make money on the outside of esports to bring it back into esports and provide those opportunities. That means putting up prize purses, when you don't necessarily have the amount of individuals being able to enter into them, but still being able to, infuse time and energy and capital for all of those years. So much to the point to where it's like, people will ask, like, is this viable? You didn't spend all this capital building technology platforms. When are you going to get this back, right? And ultimately, I always looked at it as like, I'm continuously learning about this space. And I know for a fact it's not going to come overnight, right? And when you're learning every day, you're essentially a professor of this esports space because you've seen every element. And when you know that you've invested, you have ability to be able to say, all right, I know how to speak truth to individuals who are trying to get into this space to help their time in this space be much shorter, right? So when it comes down to staying authentic, it's being like, hey, man, this is what I experienced. Don't do this, do this. This is if you really want to be able to, impact the actual individual that you're teaching or you're engaging with. You got to show proof. You got to be. A student is going to look and they're going to hear you, but they're going to go to a Facebook or YouTube. They're going to look you up, and if they can't validate you being your actions showcasing, then you're not going to get too much engagement, and that's just the reality of our smart, younger demographic because they're very in tune with what's going on. And they're going to follow a Ninja or Tfue or anybody else because they're actually able to see their views. They're able to see how skillful they are. And when you're able to prove it, then, you can be able to really impact the youth. So ultimately, I think authenticity is everything because it's like, you got to really be, it's like the verses of somebody creating a song. And that song is just like nice. It makes you move versus someone like a Kendrick or, a J. Cole that can really speak, depth into the lyrics and someone feels those lyrics and you can listen to those lyrics, years afterwards. At that point right now, it's really critical in this space right now, as fast as it's moving, to really give, true authentic experiences. So therefore, you don't mislead individuals. You don't want to mislead someone that thinks that they're going to be able to get this when in actuality, that's not going to be true. And then you're going to lead them to the point of where they're like, whether it's a kid, whether it's a, CEO, whether this is someone that's older, that's looking to get in this industry, just being real and saying, hey, this is what you should, you could go after. This is more feasible, because it'll be crazy if I tell everybody, like with 8 professional gamers, if I tell everybody that you're going to be, the LeBron James of esports, when that's not necessarily true. I don't want to stop anybody, but ultimately it's like, all right, just in case you are not the LeBron James, here are all the other opportunities. And we make sure that we engage and identify based by way of assessments to understand that this individual has the capabilities of being a great graphic designer, and they can take the same skill sets that they've learned from competing from a professional game and apply it to that skill, and that can help them be the best in what they see or did not see at first. So ultimately, it's just really being able to show it. And that's something that we really try to focus on, even from our content perspective. It's almost like, our content that we try to push out is what's going on true. Like if we're doing education, I want to be able to, if I'm a kid, I want to be able to see someone talking about education that's in that room, that's in an arena, that's in a shoutcaster room. That as a kid, I'm looking at it as like, man, I want to be where they're at right now. And I think that's very critical to engage younger individuals because they, I was in that class where I was just like, I listen to a teacher, but I have to go out. I got to go into the real world right after school. When that bell rings, I got to go into the real world. And those are the individuals that I have to listen to, whether they're drug dealers, whether they're entrepreneurs, I'm listening to them because I'm actually seeing them in it. And I think, the way as fast as information is these days, you got to really be able to engage the actual students, and you got to give them real time because they're very smart, highly smart.
Yeah, they're highly smart. Like they process real fast. Everybody knows that watches the podcast that I'm a teacher, and so I get it. And they're real careful about people not being authentic. If you're not authentic, that generation is just going to shut down on you. You're not going to get any aspects of work out of them at all. The connection is lost. And so I'm glad that you brought up the educational piece in the youth. You've done well in developing an education platform, and it's not traditional. Like the youth of today, even in virtual class, like they rather video instruction than a basic curriculum like you and I had.
Yeah,
where it's like a bunch of papers, a bunch of writing, and all that is important. But I think you did a great job in meeting that generation where they are. Could you talk about your platform real quick and you know how's it going and how people can apply and so forth and so on?
Yeah, man, simple. Like, you know, just by being in the space, this is it was built out of necessity. You know, we were really focusing on allowing we have around 6 ISDs in our area, and you know, I was really focused in on, getting them all involved ISDs to come into the platform because there's no esports arena in this area except ours. So it was like, you know, I'm just trying to get all the teachers to that space. And, you know, when COVID hit, they were just like, you know, well, you can't go. I was expecting bus loads to come to the facility and just COVID just swiped that all out. So, you know, I had already made those connections. So I was just like, well, you know, here's how, you know, development is cool at East. But now I can speak on the dynamics of coding, you know, where it looks at, and I sit back and look at my team, my team of young individuals, and I say, man, we got to pivot because, you know, we can't necessarily just survive off of doing events inside of this facility. We got to figure out how we're going to engage. And, you know, I had some team members who were just like, man, we need to build an education platform. We were researching Play VSs. We were researching, you know, other platforms that are out there. They were doing leagues and tournaments. And we were just like, there has to be an element to where we can provide education and in front of these leagues. By way of letting these students actually considerably do their homework. And we start building that platform like every day, building that platform all throughout the day. And in 2 weeks, we built the learning management system. And the hard part was that the quote unquote, you know, the traditional style of learning. And I battled with that because I was just like, well, on one end, in order to get into schools, you got to have that type of curriculum, right? You need to have that type of core. But on the other end, I'm an esports. I didn't have to go with the schools, and I see what students do. I see what kids do on a daily basis and how they engage with content. So it's almost like, all right, we're going to do content towards the actual students, and we're going to put it on this learning management system that the instructors and the admins are used to. They're used to learning management systems, and allow them to have assessments that they can be able to track. You know, and so we were just like, all right, we got a perfect merge, and there's no esports centric learning management system. So we were just like, we're creating the first one. And as soon as we built it, we created content. We have over 120 odd 5 to 7 minutes videos that we've broken down from management, marketing, technology, competition, and production. And we built this nice UI and data driven platform. And what we immediately our runway was getting short quick. So we immediately went right back to those schools and were like, hey, look at our platform, look at our content. Here's how much it's going to cost for students to be able to go through a said course, whether it was 2 weeks or 2 months. But we were instantly like, you know, do you want this? Or is this something that you can use? And when we got that first yes, where a school gave us X amount of students, we were just like, all right, we actually built something. And it was cool because it wasn't just built by anybody. It was built by us. Right. The same students in this community, the same individuals on doing the content. I'm up getting early up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, shooting for 14 hours straight. By the time I'm leaving, my voice is dead like it is right now because I've been talking all throughout the day. But ultimately, it's like the team came together, and the team came so close to where it was just like, man, we're a real family. And it was cool to be able to see that these students and the individuals who are really aspiring to be esports professionals and are professionals in this esports space, to see them be able to build a product out and deliver it to the world and see the responses from the students and the teachers at the same time. And upwards, we were just like, man, this is pretty cool because now we can go from an education perspective and we go straight in to providing virtual tournaments and, you know, physical tournaments, but mostly virtual tournaments now, and allowing those same students that come through the pipeline to be able to work on these type of events. And it's cool when you can be like, I just did an event for, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles, or I just did an event for a New Georgia project. These are things that individuals are proud of when they are actually a part of it. And that's the biggest benefit that I look at bringing to this community. And it's good that the community has backed us. And I would say every individual is creating a program, you know, and ensure that you have the community support. You know, it may take tomorrow or it may take, you know, next year, but having the community support is everything. That's the real model of sustainment and engagement. If you don't have your own community, don't really think about going nationally and globally. Focus on your community and then really showcasing the value that you're providing to your community, and then start trying to go out to do other things.
Yeah. You mentioned two things there. You mentioned a lot of things, but two things that I wanted to kind of talk further on. The production, we're going to get that to that in a minute. Yeah. You mentioned being a part of the community and building that first, man. This industry, and you said you was okay with going there today. I'm about to go there.
Yeah, I got you.
This industry is like, it reminds me of like the .com boat.
Yeah.
Where everybody's running into it. It's like a housing market boom. Everybody's running to go get a house, right?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people in this industry that are not of this industry, and they're, as we say in our culture, they're coming in to get the bag.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're not there for substance or to add anything towards these communities. They want the big streams, they want the big numbers, they want to get the corporate dollars. Yeah. What do you say to the communities that are involved? You got the education platform. You're doing stuff within the schools, like you're doing everything that you can.
Yeah.
What would you say to the communities that don't have a resource in their neighborhood, such as yours, or even on my side of things, where I'm at a public school, I'm able to build resources to outsource the community. What do you say to those communities that don't have those things?
Man, so one, it's, when there is a need, there's a way, right? It's not like, there was this before I was here, right? So I seen a need and I said, all right, before I'm just going to go out and say I have something, I'm going to go study. I'm going to go spend. I remember packing up my vehicle probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and traveling. We did a tour, right? We did a tour to San Francisco. We did a tour at all the tournaments that was going on. And we literally got in the car, traveled to San Francisco, San Diego, New York, Boston, Florida. Like, we went to all different genres of games, and it was me and my team, and we just got in the car, traveled forever, and just learned the space, learned the community, took notes, engaged, and brought it back to our community. And from there, it was like, okay, I see what was done over here for this Call of Duty tournament. I see what an NBA 2K community looks like. I see what FGC community looks like. All right, this is how we can be able to build. And upwards of, before you even get the communication from individuals, they're going to be like, what are you providing us? And if you're not willing to provide them something, why would you even think that you can be able to gain something back from it? Like, at this instance, you got to naturally think about, especially if you're 1 to 5 years into this industry, you got to ultimately think about, what are you investing into this space? Like, what are you giving this space? Are you spending capital? Are you spending time? Are you, having sleepless nights? Are you putting in the effort? And are you doing research to be able to provide value to other individuals before you even think about getting it back from other people?
Whew. Man, that was a lot. So the big thing in the industry now too is diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And so, I feel it a lot because I'm at Southern University. I'm over the middle, well, pretty much pre-K to PhD. I'm running esports on that full track.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, HBCU tournaments. It's a lot of HBCU events.
Yeah.
You have people that's trying to be governing bodies. You have leagues that are just popping up.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. And I know you've gone to HBCUs and taught within the African American community. We really don't know what esports is.
Yeah.
We know what gaming is, but we don't know what esports is. What do you say to those chancellors and presidents and people that are in admissions at these collegiate institutions that really hadn't been educated once again? And I know you have to have exposure. We know that. Yeah. They're educators. They're not really focused on the space. What do you say to them in order to protect the brand identity of those historical Black colleges that are wanting to get into the space?
Yeah, I think at this point, it goes back to, just taking some time and really identifying the actual, the landscape of esports. Once you have data, you can then move more confidently via this industry. It's not that hard But if you don't have data, you can easily be taken advantage of. And typically at this point, you want to ensure that your brand elements, you want to ensure that you can still have a way of movement with your actual students in your organization. Upwards, I've always thought about it as like, you know, I've always, when you think of exposure for us is, you know, I have a huge amount of I have majority ownership in it. I literally have majority ownership in this company. So I've done that purposely. So therefore I can shift when I need to. And COVID, easily shift, right? When I see this industry has moved based off of research, I can move accordingly and agile. And upwards, if you don't have that type of agility, it can stifle you, and therefore you could be locked into deals or contracts that are not advantageous for the growth of your organization or your league or your team when it comes down to it. So ultimately identifying, you know, what's the landscape look like and what are individuals doing before you just hop into it. It can save you a lot of time, a lot of frustration. This industry is still in its infancy. So it's not like you're going to just come tomorrow and you're going to win $1 million. You know, you ultimately are going to it's going to take a churning amount of time and dedication. And most importantly, it is advantageous to see the big prize purses. But most importantly, once you're in the trenches, you're like, what are you truly doing this for? Are you doing it for yourself or are you doing it for the students? And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're doing it for yourself, you're going to find yourself you're going to be more frustrated. You're going to be more, you know, you're going to be more patient and impatient. If you are doing it for the students, you're going to know that once you see that one student engage or be successful or get their confidence, that is enough for you. And then ultimately you can just build on that. But most importantly, research and understand, talk, LinkedIn, these podcasts, you know, engaging, going to webinars and conferences. If you're an organization or program, like these are invaluable because ultimately from our perspective, like, let me speak on mine. My stance is like, I get to be in the industry. I get to see everything that's going on. And typically with everything that's going on, I sometimes be like, whoa, why is that even happening? And how does someone let that happen? And sometimes I got to sit back and just view and watch to see how things transpire because it's ultimately like, you know, if I want to make a decision, if I go into it fast, it can ultimately hinder me in the long run. And if it hinders me, it hinders my staff, it hinders the students, it hinders the community, it hinders everything. So you got to really think about the importance of everyone that's following you, that's on the side of you, that's following you, because it's very important, man. Because ultimately, what I don't want to do personally is destroy the relationships of my community. I have to live in this community. It's like
there you go.
Right, I gotta live in this community. I gotta go to sleep. I gotta eat. I go to a restaurant. The community members know me. Right. If I do anything that stops it, that's done for. I gotta leave town. So ultimately, I make sure that I do things that are pertinent to the development of our community. Most importantly,
man, that's some great points, man. You know, if anybody follows me on social media, I made a post that I normally wouldn't make.
Yeah,
but it was all student based. That wasn't about me. That was about my community. Yeah. You know, my students are my community. Everybody that is in this neighborhood is my community. And so, you know, I'm in the same position as Danny. I'm the only school in the state that has a program like this, or that has an arena. You know, that we're going to do the ribbon cutting in a couple of weeks. But you know, what is that pressure like, man? You talked about it a little bit.
It's heavy, but you know, as I tell individuals, man, I remember being in college. And as an entrepreneurship student, my number one, my capstone was to create an esports arena, right? And this was before anybody heard or anything. I created the design. It was an esports arena, had chairs and, you know, stage and all of that. I built a whole business model around that. And I was like, I knew where it's going to be, you know, even at that point. So, you know, the pressure that comes now is heavy, but I couldn't see anybody else that have gone through my trajectory of life being prepped as much as I am. So I'm ultimately like, if it's anybody, I'm glad it's me because I have the patience, I have the tenacity, I have the passion for it. And the pressure don't really get to me. Little things like, you know, getting on a podcast or, you know, speaking in front of individuals. There's a little nervousness and pressure, But, when it comes down to being in the element, I feel like I have to get through it because ultimately that's going to give more people inspiration to go and do that exact same thing, because ultimately that's what helps build the total ecosystem of this industry. So the pressure is heavy, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for, I want to do this. Like I tell them, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I'm okay if I'm just making ends meet. Like I've been there. I've made less than ends meet.
There you go.
So like if I can just make ends meet as I am now, like I'm just like I'm cool. And if I make anything more than that, that's plus. But I'm at the point right now where I just got to be able to showcase a business model, because people who, if you're telling individuals to get in the space and you can't showcase a viable business model, when I tell somebody about an ecosystem, education, entertainment, and career development, they want to see a present with a bow on top, and they want to know that they get this present, it's not going to leave them, leave them in negative forever, right? Or they just continuously, I got to position this package to where I can hand it off and say, hey, you can do this in your particular community. You can do this in New York. You can do this in Jersey. And that's my number one goal. And I've been able to securely say, man, we've been here. And we've been doing it every single day. I meet with my staff on a consistent basis, and we are like, where are we at with numbers? Where are we at with jobs? Are we providing jobs opportunities to our students? And that's the number one priority for us. So it's ultimately being able to say, hey, this is not traditional esports. This is not a team, and we get sponsorships, and we're not. It's a different element. So when it comes down to it, I want to be able to showcase, hey, if you are a team, if you are a program, start to think about all the other elements, and that's what creates your ecosystem. It just can't be one in this space. The industry is too in its infancy right now. You find gamers that are making a lot of money, but you also find a lot of gamers who are not making it. You find even more gamers that are not making a lot of money. So really just showcasing the full ecosystem so someone can say, all right, I can't be one faceted in this. I can't just have a league, or I can't just have an association, or I can't just have a team. I got to think about all the pieces and how they come together. And that's what's really going to showcase your full ecosystem.
For sure, man. Man, I wish we had a lot of time. So I'm going to ask this question.
Yeah.
You mentioned the production. That was real critical for your business.
Yes.
During COVID, man. And when you start rolling it out, I always pay attention to what you're doing, man, not as a competitor, but just as a brother, and I love what you're doing. Yeah.
I had a staff member, sorry to cut you, but I had a staff member today. They were just like, Chris has been paying attention. Chris has been paying attention. I was like, man, I think that's really dope. It really showcases, and you see individuals in the industry that are really loving and paying attention and learning, and that means you're a good teacher. That means you're a good steward of this industry. So that's the biggest element. But you keep going. Yeah,
and so these productions, people, if you hadn't saw them, you need to go to Exposure's Twitch page and watch some of these productions. And a lot of people don't know. You stated it, but let's go in, man. One, you're creating high school jobs. Yeah. And they don't have to go work at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
But if you have a passion for any of these elements in esports, you're able to go into Danny's space, the Exposure space, and learn a skill set. Yeah. The CEO of IBM mentioned something in an interview I was watching the other day, and she was talking about blue-collar workers. I'm sorry, not white-collar workers. So blue-collar workers are kids that graduated high school that have already built up their resume, and they're able to go directly to the workforce and make six-figure jobs, just because they were able to intern at IBM or places like Exposure, where, like you said before, they have a extensive resume already. Yeah. There's no need not to hire this kid. Yeah. And so, talk about the production piece and what made you go in that direction. You were doing production in-house already, but you started white labeling and outsourcing, and how the kids responded to that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool because we identified the need for when the whole world goes blank and they have to do virtual, then you're right. You're like, man, we doing our own events, but we have a great opportunity to make sure that we provide virtual events for everybody that needs virtual production. Everybody who wants to do events, conventions, and they're trying not to cancel them. It was just like, all right, we need to survive, one, because we're a business, and I got, upwards of right now, I think 22 employees. So that are young, that are all underneath, probably like 32. Everybody's underneath 32. So in this instance, I can't look them in the eye and be like, sorry, you gotta do so. It was like, it's either like we're gonna do these production jobs so we can make some capital, we can make payroll, or we just gonna sit here and just be like, nah, we're just gonna sit here and look at each other. And everybody, it was a little bit of time where we had to make the whole transition from Geek Leagues to Esposure, and the team like set me down authentically. My whole team, they were just like, we don't really see the direction. We don't know where we're going. Could you just kind of, we don't feel like we're an esports company anymore. And it hit me. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, like I'm thinking like I got this long pathway. I'm like, I know what to do. What we're gonna do, education, esports, gonna all come together. But I didn't bring that to the team. And Upwards, they had their own internal conversations, and Upwards have gotten me into the room, and they all just sit there looking at me, and I had to explain it, and they're like, okay, we get it, and when they see us doing different production for different clients, it's like it all comes back full circle. And they're now like, oh man, you had this thought process, you had this vision, and now we're seeing it in fruition. And now, this has been a time where our company has been valued the most right now. Our value is pretty much quadrupled since COVID, and our team is looking at it as like, wow, we really are doing this, and we're doing it on all facets. We can go and do a client work tomorrow. We can do our own internal events, both live or virtual. We have the education element, so when we come down to schools and engaging with them and teaching individuals, teach-to-teacher components. So, when we think about it, we have a dynamic team of really talented individuals, and I couldn't be more proud of these individuals who, like you stated, I typically go, and I got another meeting right after this where I go into Dallas ISD. I go into schools, and I literally go in front of the school and I say, hey, I'm looking for this. I need an animator, or I need a graphic designer, or I need someone to work on music on an ATEM board. I mean, on the mixer. And, the students will, I can do it. I go through their portfolios, and I pick students, to come through the pipeline based off of what I need. So, just to see the students and how they've been. I have students that have been here from high school upwards of now. They went straight from high school and came on board, and they've been on here for a year plus, and they're making considerable amount of money, and which they would have naturally gone to college. And I don't knock college, but what I do understand is that people go to college to get jobs, right? You go to college to get a job. If I'm able to provide you a job, a viable job in a new growing industry where you're able to make capital and start to build out your portfolio, who wouldn't? So I've had to talk to parents. I've had to talk to my staff parents about
a hard conversation, right?
Yeah, that's a hard. I promise you, I've had to have those conversations, and it's and upwards, you got the same parents that are like, man, thank you, this individual is being able to excel, and he's happy, he's loving being in esports, and he's doing it fulfilling. He's happy to go to work, and he's even. I mean, to be completely honest, our space, even with COVID, with social distancing and everything. Our staff, they stay here even after work. They stay here to play games. They stay here to, engage with each other in regards to working on different projects and just building up their skill sets. Because this is what they like to do. And I don't have a problem telling an individual. I don't have to say, you need to be up here. If anything, I got to be like, you need to go home and get sleep. You need to go to sleep, And they're telling me the same thing. They're like, Dan, you've been here. You got a pallet on the ground. Like, go to sleep, come back in the morning. So that's how our team components are here.
Man, that's awesome, man. And like I said, man, I know you have to go. You're a busy guy, man. And I said this season one. If you hadn't listened to season one, go back and listen to season one. Danny was on season one. This is season two. He's probably going to be on season 3, 4, 5, how long I decide to do this podcast. But we can go on for days, man. Yeah. And, I always give my guest time to plug whatever they're doing, man. And it might have seemed like you were plugging the whole time, but really, I wanted you to fully describe what you're doing at the community over there in DeSoto and South Dallas area, man. So, plug away, man. Website, app, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. You hit it. You hit it right off top. It may sound like plugs all the way, but this is our life. Like, when I sit back and listen and individuals are just talking, I just be like, man, my mind is be like, I want to see what's actually being done. And, because when I hear what's actually being done, that's what makes me inspired. I like to hear that. And like, for me, it's just like, I like to be able to speak on what's being done. And that's really, it's critical because that's how you inspire someone. That's how you get them to say, I can do that too. And if not, I can do it better. Right. Exactly. So, and that's the number one dynamic because I overall want to see this industry grow. And, when I think about a plug, it's simply just being, the biggest plug that I can be able to provide is just, engaging on social media platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook and just tuning in, tuning in the podcast. I take myself out of the realm on podcast is hard for me, but I do it because of the potential partnerships that come out of it, and then just taking myself out of myself and providing other opportunities for individuals to speak about what they're doing, right? So it's just engaging in those conversations because I see the space, I see who's doing what, who's doing good, who's doing not. I see the elements, and upwards. If you're not, I really want to help you understand the components so you can get on a better trajectory. So ultimately, it's everybody should be able to succeed out of this industry. So the biggest plug is just tuning into content that's being provided. And if you're interested in anything education, production, if you're a client that want to do virtual, just know that everything here is student-centric, from the content to the production. It's a family here that these individuals will be doing some awesome things into the world to come. So I can't wait to be able to see it. So that's the biggest plug that I can ever say.
That's awesome, man. It was nice having you, man. I have to think, man. LinkedIn is like family to me, man. Yeah, they've been going hard in the comments, man.
Yeah, they have. I've been seeing
it. So, shout out to the LinkedIn family, man. Where Danny probably goes harder than me, man, as far as content. But it's just good to see you tuned in and learning, man, and engaging. And thank you for coming on, man. And a lot of people know my program for being successful at 2K. I just got to be honest. I hadn't even told you this, man. When I was looking for somewhere other than the 2K league, you're the only thing that came up on Google that was really close to what I wanted to do in my community, man. Yeah. And our relationship began organically. I wasn't trying to just get information from Danny, but it just fell in line. And I really appreciate your friendship, man. I really appreciate what you're doing, and keep showing that good example, man. And keep growing. And no matter what goes on in the industry, man, stay Danny Martin.
Stay Danny, man. Stay Danny. Vice versa, stay Chris. I think as we've been talking about it, we have a lot of good conversations. And, we get to see what the space is, and we really are just you can tell the passion that you have for the students, in which you're I just want to make sure that my students are good. You have the same realities that I have to face when I got to look at someone in the eye. I got to look at students in the eye every single day. And just like if you have kids, I don't have any kids, but of myself, but I have bunch of kids.
Yeah, you know.
And I got to make sure that I'm leading them in the right direction. So above anything that goes on in the space, I still have to come and look at, these students in the eye. And I can't just go out and market and say any dang thing that's not true, or I literally got to make sure, because if I say something on this part, they going to come in this door. They literally, as I get up, if I say something bad, they're going to look at the door and they're going to be like, oh, so that is what it is? Oh, is that real?
That's accountability, man.
Yeah. So I have to make sure I'm on point at every moment, because, these individuals, they are my hearts. They engage. They keep me, smiling. They keep me when I'm hurt. They keep me lifted. They keep me everything, man. So it's pretty good to be able to see.
Awesome, man. So I'm gonna let you go, man. You're welcome anytime. Anytime you got something new, man, just let me know, man.
Yes.
Have a good one.
We got it through, man.
There you go. Talk to you soon. All right. That was our guest for the day, man. Danny Martin of Esposure out there in DeSoto, Dallas, Texas area, man, by the cliff, as people say, man. I stayed in Dallas for a while. We're going to get into our sponsors, man. But first, I wanted to get into pretty much the traditional podcast you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and iHeartRadio. Our sponsors is Vertigear, Tafasi Gaming, and we have a partnership with Control. control. That's drinkcontrol.com is where you can find that drink. You use code GoPlayEsports on all of those sponsors. We're going to play a Vertigear commercial, and then we're going to play Tifasi Gaming. You can use code GoPlayES. That's GEAUXPLAYES, and get discount codes on all of those sites. That's vertigear.com, and that's Tifasi Gaming, TIFOCI Gaming. So we're going to leave with this Vertigear commercial. That's vertigear.com. All right, now we're going to go into the Tifasi Gaming. That's my eyewear glass partner, man. If you want to protect your eyes and get you some real good swag, go to TifasiGaming.com, put in code GoPlayEsports. Y'all already know what I say here. Go play esports. See you next week.